There's nothing worse than when you want to get something done, a task, and then it doesn't happen, or you do it a few times and then you burn out of it, right? Or worse yet, how about one of your employees? You're ready to get them going, you give them a task and it doesn't get done. Well, the real reason is most people don't understand the 3 steps of the task process. And in this video, that's what I want to show you, how we do it, Morning Coach, also the planning systems and the structures that we use when it comes to our Sacred 6 and then going to our systems. If you don't know me, my name is JB Glossinger. I'm the founder of MorningCoach.com. 20 years. We've been helping thousands of people around the world become more productive, have energy, and really start their day off. I've done 5,800 coach casts at the time of this recording every day for the last 20 years. We're counting down to 6,000. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And you can find out about MorningCoach.com by heading over there. But let's get into the basics here. So when we're working with an organization or with a person, there's 2 things that need to occur. One is we're looking at what their mission is, and that's what you're going to do over 12 months. And then it comes to vision, and that is who are you going to become as an individual or an organization. So really think about that at the depth level. What are we going to do and who we're going to become? Those are the 2 main things in our world that we call mission and vision. And then the next step is, okay, once we have these, we can now set up the goals in order to achieve that, right? Again, a lot of people are breaking down at this part. In Morning Coach, we do this in December. It's a very important part. In fact, we're building software called the Companion that we're launching that actually does a lot of this. But right now, a lot of people do this and they don't really have this structure. So we spend December planning the next year, but you can do it at any time. But you need to have some clarity here, because what this does is once you lead to your goals, you now have projects, okay? And projects are the things that are going to hit your goals. So we always say you can have a bunch of goals. Let's say as a person or as a business, you can have a lot of goals. The breakdown occurs at the projects. So I wrote the book, The Sacred 6. This is in an Italian. A lot of people ask, what is the Sacred 6 about? It's about this level, that we got to be careful of the projects and the scope creep that occurs. I was in aerospace for years. And then I was, obviously in personal development and coaching for years. I was actually an old football coach too. So I have that background of taking aerospace quality terms, ISO, and some of the quality stuff that we had to go through and analyzing it and realizing this is our breakdown. Projects is our breakdown, okay? So once our projects are established, we have to get into what we're going to talk today is tasks, okay? So tasks are what people do on a daily basis to achieve. I qualified for the Boston Marathon. I'm not a runner. How did I qualify for the Boston Marathon? I put tasks together. I executed on those tasks, which led me to the goal of a 3-hour and 30 marathon. I ran a 3:27, which made my vision of becoming a 3:30 marathoner real. Okay, so I'm living proof. I live this system, as all of our testimonials and people that are doing the same thing over at MorningCoach.com. But this task basis is so important to understand. Because again, what happens with most people, and we're not going to get into this because this video is more about tasks, but most people have scope creep in the projects. It happens with your best people. Like, again, you'll start to assign tasks. What happens is your best people get things done. And why? Because they're going to do what I'm going to show you in a minute. And now all of a sudden you go, oh, wow, let's give them more projects. And you don't set up expectations. So one of the things we talk a lot about at Morning Coach is building that team so you are getting more things done. It's also a mentality and leadership, right? So being cautious there as you're building is really critical. But let's get into the task area that I want to discuss today, because there's really 3 steps to this. Okay, once we have the basic structure, we know what we're doing, what we're after, what we're going, we need to plan, right? So the first thing is what we call our Sacred 6. So it's the plan. It's actually the plan to the task. What am I going to do? How am I going to run a 3:30 marathon? How am I going to sell this product? How are we going to sell 1 million of these units? How are we going to launch the new iPhone, right? It's the actual task that you're assigning that you're going to do. That is the plan to do the task. That is step 1. Okay? Step 2 then occurs what we call consistency. And I'll put a picture of the planner up here. And in our planner for individuals, right? We were the organizations too, but for individuals, what happens is once you have this Sacred 6 plan, I'll show you an example, something I'm working on, you then can move it out of your plan and move it into consistency. Am I doing it consistently? Am I working on the marathon consistently? Am I doing it consistently? Once that is done, and you can see in the planner, we've got a place for you to actually put that, right? Once that's done, now all of a sudden you go to step 3, which is autonomy. Autonomy. I'll probably spell this wrong. Autonomy. 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 M in there, O in there, Y in there. Spelling, not my strong suit. But autonomy, okay? That means now the task doesn't need to be tracked anymore. My marathon training, I don't need to track my running anymore. I'm good. I'm killing it. What do I need to track? And this is on an individual basis, not an organization basis. Let's go through the steps with something that I need to track, okay? Weight training and some mobility. I'm 56 years old. I'm doing great. My biological age is 48. I believe in health and longevity. It's another thing we teach at Morning Coach, helping people get younger and have energy. People go, how do you have so much energy? I'm beating most 20-year-olds as a non-runner out there in my 5Ks and half marathons because it's about tracking and having vision and having purpose and having energy. That's what we do every day at Morning Coach, right? But the area that I've been weak in is in strength training and mobility. So what I've had to do is I've had to bring strength training back in 3 times a week, strength, lifting weights. I got to get stronger. And then 5 days a week, mobility. Okay? So what am I doing right now? That's what I'm working on my plan. I have to go speak at this big event in Colombia. When I come back, this is my new area that I'm moving into. So my running is already autonomous. I don't need more running training. In fact, I've got really lazy. I'd rather go out and run 10 miles than get in the weight room. And I have my own gym in my home. It's crazy. So I've got to make this part of the plan. This task has to be done. So I need a plan. It's not autonomous. I'm not doing it. So now, then it moves to consistency. So guess what? I have strength training. In our new software, we can put plus or minus. I won't go into that. I'm going to do some videos on our software. But I can do strength training, and then I can put mobility. So now in my planner, I can track how many days in a row that I do that. Now, this is my 3 times a week, so you're saying, well, won't that throw off consistency? No, not as long as my plan, if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'm doing it, and I'm on a Tuesday, okay, that's consistent. Okay, I'm good. I've got the structure. I've got the plan. I'm working to it. And what does that lead to? Which is finally autonomy. I'm doing it. Autonomy. I'm doing it consistently. I don't need to track it anymore. It's now off the list. So this happens with your employees, your staff, your team, people you're working with, that if you're just not tracking and building and then tracking the consistency, this is where it falls off. And most people aren't. So it's like, well, why didn't it get done? Why did it change? Why is this happening? Even us ourselves personally, because you didn't create enough consistency in the task. And you could say it's habit forming. We don't know. People say 21 days. Nobody really knows. There's no science that says how long something becomes a habit. But if you track this and it becomes consistent and you get enough times in a row, you know it's going to go to autonomy. You know, I don't have to think about it. I don't need a plan for it. Good eating, healthy eating. I don't need to do any of that anymore. That's all gone. But a lot of clients and people I work with, yeah, they need to do that because that's what they're working on. Okay, so your step, what you need to be looking at is clarity. What am I trying to do? What am I really going after? And then why am I not accomplishing tasks? And again, those of you that know, that work with people and have employees, this is a huge problem. I gave them tasks, it didn't get done. They're just not meeting my expectations. Why is that? Because we don't have a structured system. Everybody that you work with should have a mission and vision, some goals, some projects, and some tasks. They should have some structure, right? You should have structure. And it's amazing because I do this a lot. I travel all over the world. I work with a lot of people, and I see a lot of people that are really frustrated with their life because they don't have any structure. And that's why I created Morning Coach. Morning Coach. And we've got a wonderful discovery program where I work with you every week. Planners. The new Sacred 6 planner, I will tell you for the Remarkable Move, which I love this little device, is task-oriented. Okay, but the issue is we don't have the consistency tracker in here. It's too small. But that's okay. You don't need it all the time. For me, what I do is I go in my software. We'll talk about that later. And then what I do is I put my task in my little planner that I can carry with me. That's what I'm doing currently, right? So we have a lot of systems as far as getting your morning set up. And that's really the secret to life. Get your morning set up, okay? But really look at your mission. What are you going to do over 12 months? Look at your vision. What am I going to do? Who am I going to become? What are those goals that are going to get me there? What are the projects? And remember, projects. This is critical, projects. This is where we have scope creep. This is where we have overwhelm. This is where we don't get things done. And we have way too much stuff going on. We have to learn to say no. This is what Morning Coach helps you do, get focused and organized so you say no. Now, once we get to the projects, then we get to the task. And the task, we have 3 levels. We have the start, which is the plan. Basically, we call that the sacred 6. Okay, that's your planning stage. We have the consistency stage. We're now starting to do it. And then we finally have the autonomy stage. So that's your 3 stages to task development, task structure, and task winning, getting things done for you and your employees. All right, awesome. You want to check us out, head over to morningcoach.com. You can see Discovery, $10 a month, Freedom. Our big planning structuring system is $100 a month. Really cool. We're very simple. It's awesome coaching, great energy. And either way, hey, I appreciate your support, and I'm glad you're watching our Morning Coach channel here. Get out there and do it to it. Just go win, man. It's a great time to be alive. Get that mission, get that vision together, get the right coaching, the right organization, and make it happen. All right, I'll see you in the next one.